I dragged my suitcase through the apartment door, exhausted from 3 days of back-to-back meetings in Chicago. My feet ached, my shoulders were tight, and all I wanted was to collapse on my couch with a cup of tea. But when I stepped into the living room, I froze. Everything was gone. My navy blue couch, the one I had saved for 3 months to buy, had vanished. The wooden shelves my dad built me were missing. Even my cream-colored rug was nowhere to be seen. Instead, a sleek velvet sofa sat in the middle of the room, looking like something from an expensive magazine. Olivia lounged on it, scrolling through her phone with an iced coffee in her hand. She looked up and smiled like nothing was wrong. "Oh hey, you're back. I sold your old stuff." "You're welcome." My brain could not process her words. Before I could respond, she reached behind her and pulled out a white envelope. She tossed it onto the glass coffee table I had never seen before. "That's your half of the bill for the new furniture. I figured we could split it since we both live here." My hand started shaking as I picked up the envelope. Inside was an invoice for over $2,000. My half was supposed to be $1,050. I looked at Olivia, waiting for her to laugh and tell me this was some kind of sick joke. She did not. "What did you do?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Olivia sighed dramatically and set down her phone. "I upgraded the place, Sasha. Your stuff was so outdated. It looked like a grandma lived here. I did us both a favor." My chest tightened with anger. "You had no right to touch my things. Where is everything?" She waved her hand dismissively. "I told you. I sold it. Got some decent money too, which is why your half of the bill isn't higher." I could not believe what I was hearing. This woman had moved in 2 months ago as a temporary roommate while she looked for her own place. Now she was acting like she owned everything. "Olivia, those were my belongings. You can't just sell someone else's property." She rolled her eyes. "You're being overly emotional. It's just furniture." I stormed into my bedroom and slammed the door. My heart pounded as I pulled out my laptop and opened the online marketplace we both used. I typed Olivia's name into the search bar, and there they were. 7 listings, all posted 3 days ago while I was away. My couch for $300. My shelves for $75. My rug for $50. Each listing had timestamps from Saturday afternoon, just hours after I had left for my trip. The descriptions made my blood boil. Gently used couch, great condition, and vintage wooden shelves, perfect for any home. These were not her things to sell. I scrolled through the comments and saw that buyers had already picked everything up. The transactions were complete. Then I saw the last listing, and my stomach dropped. My grandmother's reading chair. The brown leather armchair she had left me when she passed away 5 years ago. The chair where I sat every Sunday morning with my coffee. The chair that still smelled faintly like her lavender perfume. Olivia had sold it for $120. I could not breathe. Tears blurred my vision as I stared at the listing. That chair was not just furniture. It was the last piece of my grandmother I had left. I stumbled out of my room and found Olivia still on her new couch, painting her nails a bright red. "You sold my grandmother's chair," I said, my voice breaking. She glanced up, unbothered. "The leather one?" "Yeah, some lady bought it yesterday. She seemed really happy with it." I felt my knees weaken. That chair meant everything to me. "You knew that." Olivia shrugged and went back to her nails. "Sasha, it was just furniture. I can't be responsible for your emotional attachments. You need to learn to let go of things." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. Instead, I asked the only question that mattered. "Where is the money? If you sold my things, where is my share?" She looked up with a smug smile. Oh, I already spent it. Treated myself to a spa weekend last week. Deep tissue massage, facial, the works. I really needed it after dealing with all the stress of selling your stuff. I locked myself in my room for an hour, trying to calm down. My mind raced with thoughts of calling the police, suing her, doing something to make this right. Then I remembered the lease. I pulled it out from my filing cabinet and read through it carefully. Olivia's name was nowhere on it. When she moved in 2 months ago, I had let her stay temporarily while she searched for an apartment. We never signed anything official. She was not legally my roommate. She was essentially a guest who had overstayed her welcome. My hands stopped shaking as I realized what this meant. I was the only person on the lease. I had full control over who stayed in this apartment. Olivia had no legal right to be here if I did not want her here. I took a deep breath and made a decision. I was going to handle this the right way, but I was going to make sure she faced consequences for what she had done. I grabbed my phone and took photos of every page of the lease. Then I photographed the empty living room and her new furniture. That evening, I thought the chaos was over. I was sitting in my room, researching tenant laws, when I heard the front door open. Multiple voices filled the apartment. Laughter echoed through the walls. I cracked open my door and saw at least 10 people crowded around Olivia's new furniture. She had invited guests over without telling me. Wine bottles covered the coffee table. Someone had ordered pizza, and the boxes were stacked on the kitchen counter. Music played from a portable speaker, loud enough to make my walls vibrate. I stepped into the hallway, and one of Olivia's friends spotted me. "Oh, you must be the roommate," she said with a fake smile. Before I could respond, I heard Olivia's voice from across the room. "That's Sasha. She rents the spare room from me." My face burned. She was telling people I was renting from her. That this was her apartment and I was just some girl living in the back bedroom. I retreated to my room without saying a word. But I pulled out my phone and started taking photos through the crack in my door. The party went on for hours. I sat in my room, listening to Olivia brag about her new furniture and her upgraded living space. Around midnight, most of the guests started leaving. I heard Olivia saying goodbye at the door, and then one voice lingered. "You know, I work with Olivia at the marketing firm," a woman said, clearly talking to someone else. "She's been telling everyone at the office that she owns this place. She says her roommate Sasha is kind of a mess, always leaving her junk everywhere and freeloading off her generosity." My jaw clenched. Not only had Olivia stolen and sold my belongings, but she was also ruining my reputation with lies. I grabbed my phone and quietly opened my door just enough to snap a photo of the remaining guests. The timestamp and the crowd of people would be proof that she was hosting unauthorized events. When the last person finally left, I heard Olivia humming to herself as she cleaned up. She had no idea what was coming. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a notification. I glanced at the screen and felt my anger flare up again. It was an email from Amazon confirming a delivery to my address. I had not ordered anything. I opened the email and saw a list of items I did not recognize. Decorative vases, scented candles, cleaning supplies, and a $300 crystal lamp. All purchased using my Amazon account. I stormed out of my room and found Olivia arranging the new decor on the shelves she had bought. "Did you use my Amazon account?" I demanded. She did not even look up. "Oh yeah, I couldn't find my credit card, so I just used yours." "Don't worry, it's for our apartment. You'll benefit from it too." I wanted to explode, but I forced myself to stay calm. "You can't just use my account without asking. That's theft." She laughed. "Relax, Sasha. It's just a few decorations. You're acting like I committed a crime." Then the doorbell rang. A delivery driver stood outside with a large box. I signed for it and brought it inside. When I opened it, I found the crystal lamp shattered into pieces. Olivia had put my name on the shipping label, which meant any damage claims would come back to me. I had reached my limit. That afternoon, while Olivia was taking a shower, I pulled up the app for our Wi-Fi router. With a few taps, I removed her devices from the network. When she came out of the bathroom, her phone in hand, she immediately started cursing. "Why isn't the internet working?" she yelled. I looked up from my laptop, where I was still connected, and shrugged. "Maybe there's an outage." She glared at me. "It's working for you." I smiled sweetly. "I guess it is." She stomped over to the router and tried resetting it, but nothing worked. She could not access the settings because I had changed the password. "Sasha, I need the internet for work. This isn't funny." I closed my laptop and met her eyes. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before you sold my things and used my accounts without permission." Her face turned red. She pointed a finger at me, her voice shaking with anger. "If you don't chill out, you're going to regret it. I promise you that." I did not respond. I just walked back into my room and locked the door. That night, curiosity got the better of me. Olivia had a drawer in the kitchen that she kept locked. I had never questioned it before, but now I wondered what she was hiding. While she was out meeting a friend, I found a small screwdriver and carefully pried the lock open. Inside, I found stacks of envelopes. Bills. Overdue notices. Past due warnings. Most of them were for utilities and subscriptions. Some had my name on them. I pulled out one envelope and saw a notice for an internet service I never signed up for. Another envelope contained a bill for a streaming subscription under my email address. Then I found something that made my stomach turn. A credit card statement with my name on it, but an email address I did not recognize. The card had a balance of over $1,500. I had never opened this card. I had never even heard of the bank issuing it. My hands trembled as I took photos of every document. This was no longer just about furniture. This was identity theft. I sat on my bed, staring at the credit card statement. Part of me wanted to believe this was a misunderstanding. Maybe Olivia had accidentally used my name when signing up for something. But deep down, I knew better. This was intentional. I called the bank listed on the statement. After navigating through their automated system, I finally reached a representative. "I need to report fraudulent activity on an account," I said. The representative asked for my information and pulled up the account. "Yes, I see this card was opened 3 months ago. There have been several charges on it." 3 months ago. That was right around the time Olivia moved in. "I never opened this card," I explained. "Someone used my information without my permission." The representative paused. "Actually, we have a note here that someone called earlier today asking about this account. The caller claimed to be you and tried to increase the credit limit." My heart sank. "What time was the call?" She told me. "It was this morning, right after I had left for a dentist appointment." Olivia had called the bank pretending to be me. For the next 2 days, I acted completely normal. I smiled at Olivia when she walked by. I made small talk about the weather. I even complimented her new lamp, the one she had bought with my money. She grew suspicious of my sudden change in attitude. "Why are you being so nice?" she asked one evening. I shrugged. "I've just been thinking. Maybe I overreacted. It's just stuff, right?" She studied my face, trying to figure out if I was being sincere. Finally, she nodded. "Exactly. I'm glad you're seeing reason." But behind my calm exterior, I was planning. I called the building manager and scheduled a meeting. I asked about the rules for unauthorized tenants and what steps I needed to take to have someone removed from the apartment. The manager, a kind woman named Margaret, listened carefully. If someone isn't on the lease, you have the right to ask them to leave. If they refuse, we can begin formal eviction proceedings. I thanked her and made an appointment to discuss my situation in detail. When I met with Margaret the next day, I explained everything. Olivia's unauthorized stay, the parties, the stolen belongings. Margaret frowned as she took notes. Then she said something that shocked me. Actually, Olivia came to see me last week, Margaret said. She told me she was the primary leaseholder and that you were subletting from her. My mouth fell open. That's a complete lie. I'm the only one on the lease. Margaret nodded. I thought it was strange because our records clearly show only your name. But she was very insistent. She even asked about adding her name to the lease officially. This woman had no shame. She was trying to steal my apartment right out from under me. Margaret pulled out a folder. I can provide you with documentation proving you're the sole leaseholder. If you need it for legal purposes, it's all here. I thanked her and took copies of everything. My case against Olivia was growing stronger by the hour. I just needed a few more pieces of evidence before I made my move. That evening, I received a message on the Marketplace app. It was from a woman named Claire. Hi, I'm the person who bought the leather reading chair from your roommate. I need to talk to you. My heart raced as I responded. Claire explained that she had been looking through the chair and found a small engraving on the bottom. It read, "To Sasha, with all my love, Grandma." I realized this wasn't your roommate's chair to sell, Claire wrote. I feel terrible. I want to return it to you. I could barely type through my tears. Thank you so much. That chair means everything to me. Claire sent me her address, and we arranged for me to pick it up that weekend. But before ending the conversation, she sent me something else. Screenshots. Messages between her and Olivia. In them, Olivia admitted she had sold her roommate's belongings without permission. She'll get over it, Olivia had written. It's not like she can do anything about it anyway. I saved every screenshot. This was the proof I needed. I spent the next day organizing everything. I created a folder on my laptop with all the evidence. Photos of the empty living room. Screenshots of Olivia's Marketplace listings. Pictures of the bills and credit card statements. The messages from Claire. Documentation from the building manager. I even had recordings from my phone of Olivia admitting she sold my things. I had enough to take legal action, but part of me wanted to give her one last chance. Maybe if I showed her how serious this was, she would apologize and make things right. That evening, I sat her down at the kitchen table. Olivia, we need to talk. She crossed her arms. What now? I laid out printed copies of some of the evidence. You sold my belongings without permission. You used my Amazon account. You opened a credit card in my name. This is serious. I need you to make this right. She glanced at the papers and laughed. What are you going to do? Cry to your imaginary lawyer. Her dismissive attitude shattered any hope I had for a peaceful resolution. Then she stood up and smiled. By the way, I'm throwing another party Friday night. A big one. You're welcome to hide in your room again. I did not argue. I did not yell. I just nodded and walked away. Olivia thought she had one. She thought I was too weak to do anything. She had no idea what was coming. I went back to my room and called Margaret. The situation has escalated, I told her. My roommate is planning another unauthorized party this Friday. She's also been illegally using my accounts and identity. Margaret's tone turned serious. If she hosts another party, that's a violation of building policy. Especially if she's not even on the lease. I can have security document the event, and we can issue an eviction notice. I thanked her and confirmed the plan. Then I did something else. I set up a small camera in my bedroom. It was legal since it was my private space, and I wanted to make sure Olivia did not try to steal anything else while I was not looking. Everything was in place. I just had to wait for Friday night. Friday evening arrived, and I pretended to be defeated. I stayed in my room with the door closed while Olivia prepared for her party. I could hear her laughing on the phone, inviting people over, promising them a great time. Around 8 o'clock, guests started arriving. Music blasted through the apartment. I could smell alcohol and hear glass clinking. Olivia was in her element, playing the role of the perfect host. I sat quietly in my room, waiting. At 9:30, I sent a text to Margaret. The party is happening now. It's loud and there are at least 20 people here. She responded immediately. Security is on the way. 20 minutes later, I heard a firm knock on the front door. The music stopped abruptly. I cracked open my door and watched as 2 security guards and Margaret entered the apartment. Olivia's face went pale. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice shaky. Margaret looked around at the crowd of people and the mess they had made. "We received a noise complaint. And I need to speak with you about your residency status." The guests quickly scattered, sensing trouble. Within minutes, the apartment was nearly empty. Only Olivia remained, standing in the middle of her new living room, looking like a cornered animal. Margaret pulled out a folder. "According to our records, you are not authorized to live in this apartment. The lease is under Sasha's name only." Olivia pointed at me. "She let me stay here. We had an agreement." I stepped forward, my voice steady. "You were supposed to stay temporarily while you found your own place. That was 2 months ago. You've overstayed, and you've violated my trust by selling my belongings and hosting unauthorized parties." Margaret handed Olivia a document. "This is a formal eviction notice. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises." Olivia's face turned bright red. She looked at me with pure hatred. "You set me up. You planned this whole thing." I did not deny it. "You brought this on yourself." She crumpled the eviction notice in her fist and screamed. "This is insane. You can't just kick me out." Margaret remained calm. "Actually, she can. You're not on the lease. You have no legal right to be here." Olivia turned to me, desperation creeping into her voice. "Sasha, come on. Where am I supposed to go? You can't do this." I pulled out my phone and showed Margaret the photos I had taken. The empty living room. The marketplace listings. The credit card statements. "She didn't just overstay her welcome," I explained. "She stole from me. She committed identity theft. I have documentation of everything." Margaret's eyes widened as she looked through the photos. She turned to Olivia. "If what Sasha is saying is true, this is a legal matter. I strongly suggest you vacate immediately and cooperate fully." Olivia tried to argue, but Margaret cut her off. "You have 48 hours. If you're not gone by Sunday evening, we will involve the police." With that, Margaret and the security guards left. Olivia stood frozen in the middle of the room, staring at the eviction notice in her hand. I walked past her without a word and locked myself in my room. The next morning, Olivia tried a different approach. She knocked on my door, her voice soft and apologetic. "Sasha, can we talk? Please." I opened the door but did not invite her in. "What do you want?" She looked exhausted. Her makeup was smudged, and her eyes were red. "I'm sorry. I messed up. I shouldn't have sold your stuff. I shouldn't have used your accounts. I got caught up in wanting everything to look perfect. I crossed my arms. You stole from me, Olivia. You lied to everyone. You tried to take over my apartment. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know. I know I did. But please, don't report me for the credit card thing. I'll pay it back. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't call the police. I considered her words. Part of me wanted to see her face real legal consequences. But another part of me just wanted this nightmare to be over. If you want me to stay quiet, you need to do 3 things, I said. Olivia looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. Anything. I held up one finger. First, you return my grandmother's chair. I'm picking it up from the buyer this weekend, and you're paying her back the full amount. She nodded quickly. Okay. Done. I held up a second finger. Second, you pay me back for every charge you made on my Amazon account. That's $350. She hesitated but nodded again. I can do that. I held up a third finger. Third, you're out of here by Sunday evening. No arguments. No excuses. And you tell everyone you lied about me and this apartment. Olivia's face crumpled, but she agreed. Fine. I'll do it. She disappeared into her room, and I heard her making phone calls. Some of them were to friends, asking if she could crash on their couches. Others were to her parents, begging for money. I did not feel sorry for her. She had made her choices, and now she was facing the consequences. By Sunday afternoon, most of her things were packed. Sunday evening arrived, and Olivia was still packing. I stayed in my room, monitoring the camera I had set up. Around 7 o'clock, I noticed something on the footage. Olivia was in my room, going through my closet. She pulled out a designer handbag I had bought for myself last year and stuffed it into one of her boxes. My blood boiled. Even now, even after everything, she was still trying to steal from me. I stormed out of my room and confronted her in the hallway. Put it back. She froze, the box still in her hands. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and showed her the camera footage. Her face went white as she watched herself going through my things. I have this all recorded, I said calmly. If you don't put my bag back right now, I'm sending this footage to the police along with everything else I have on you. She dropped the box and pulled out my handbag. She handed it to me without a word, her hands shaking. Is there anything else you took? I asked. Olivia shook her head, but I did not believe her. I made her open every box while I watched. Sure enough, I found 3 more items that belonged to me. A necklace, a pair of shoes, and a book my father had given me. I took everything back and told her to finish packing. By 8 o'clock, all her belongings were loaded into her car. She stood in the doorway, looking defeated. I really am sorry, Sasha. I did not respond. She took a deep breath. Are you still going to report the credit card thing? I thought about it for a long moment. If you pay me back for the Amazon charges and make sure my grandmother's chair is returned, I won't report you. But if you ever contact me again, if you ever try to come back here, I will hand over every piece of evidence to the police. Do you understand? She nodded. I understand. With that, Olivia walked out of my apartment for the last time. I closed the door behind her and locked it. The silence was overwhelming. But it was a good silence. A peaceful silence. The next day, I drove to Claire's house to pick up my grandmother's chair. When I arrived, I was stunned. Claire had not just kept the chair safe. She had restored it. The leather was polished and conditioned. The wooden legs were refinished. It looked even better than I remembered. I felt so terrible about the whole situation, Claire explained. I wanted to make it right. Tears filled my eyes as I ran my hand over the smooth leather. Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means to me. Claire smiled. Actually, I do. I lost my grandmother a few years ago. I know how important these things are. She helped me load the chair into my car, and as I was about to leave, she handed me a small card. It had a red ribbon tied around it. Inside, she had written, "For someone stronger than she knows." I hugged her and drove home, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. When I got back to the apartment, I placed the chair in its old spot by the window. It fit perfectly. Over the next few days, I slowly refurnished my apartment. I bought a new couch, one that I loved. I found shelves at a thrift store that reminded me of the ones my dad had built. I chose a rug that made the whole room feel warm and cozy. It was not the same as before, but it was mine. I had chosen everything myself, and that made it special. One evening, I sat in my grandmother's chair with a cup of tea, looking out at the city lights. I felt proud of myself. Proud that I had stood up to Olivia. Proud that I had protected myself and my belongings. Proud that I had not let her get away with what she had done. My phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from an unknown number. Sasha, it's Olivia. Can we talk? I really need to explain some things. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then, without hesitation, I deleted it. I blocked the number. I was done with Olivia. I was done with drama. I was done with people who took advantage of kindness. I took a sip of my tea and smiled. This apartment was mine again. My life was mine again. And I was never letting anyone take that away from me. Thanks for watching. What would you do if someone sold your most precious belongings and expected you to thank them for it? Please comment, subscribe and share.